Hello, guys. Welcome to Stories of Hope. My name is Heather, and I'm here today with my friend Caylor, who's going to share a bit of her story and how she's found encouragement through her journey with chronic illness. So, I met Caylor actually at a chronic illness support group at our school at Asbury University, and we became friends over these last few years, and I've just really enjoyed getting to know her more and being encouraged and learning how we can share and relate to one another and just exploring a lot of different questions and ideas. And she's a really awesome person and encouraging and authentic. So I'm really excited for you to hear what she has to share with us today. So, Caylor, can you tell
Hey.
us a little bit about your chronic illness journey and like what kind of illness you have, and what the experience has been like for you?
Yeah, so I've had two kind of stints of chronic illness. First was in middle school, so I don't know, over about ten years ago. That's weird to think. um, where it was a lot of things that just made me really tired, and I had chronic fatigue
Mhm.
then. But it kind of came up again my senior year of high school around 5 years ago. Um, and so basically, what I have is like the biggest symptom is chronic fatigue. I have chronic fatigue syndrome, but I also have, well, the health conditions that are underlying that are like a gut dysbiosis, meaning like the bacteria isn't leveled, like the ratio of good and bad bacteria aren't at like the ratio of what it's supposed to be. So that creates a whole lot of issues with like diet and being able to digest things. And so I have a lot of like stomach and GI issues, and so I have to eat like a more of like a gluten-free paleo diet, which has been hard to adjust to, but I
Mhm.
actually really love it.
Yeah.
It's really nice now, even though it can be really hard in certain circumstances. But like being at home, it's great, and
Mhm.
I really enjoy it now. But yeah, so I've had a lot of off and on again um, bouts with fatigue and
Mhm.
and a lot of like brain fog from some other cardiovascular issues too. So that's
Yeah.
kind of my experience. Kind of comes and goes. Sometimes it's really bad. Sometimes I'm like in bed and I can't
Mhm.
do anything. Other times it's a little easier to push through, but still difficult. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. How have you found strength and hope, and how have you just been able to keep going through all of this fatigue and brain fog and different things that are against you?
Yeah, I for a really long time, I mean, this isn't necessarily strength or hope, but for a really
Mhm.
long time, I tried to get through by just ignoring it, kind of
Mm.
hiding away,
Mhm.
kind of isolating myself and kind of escaping my reality because it was really hard to just deal with because it was every single day and I didn't
Yeah.
really I was kind of just wishing for tomorrow to be done already
Mhm.
so that like hopefully I'd have a good day sometime or or whatever was going to come in the future.
Mhm.
Uh, but then that was especially when like I I had like a really long span of time during my senior year of high school where I was really sick and yeah, it was kind of like an everyday thing. But what's really been helpful that's not exactly the best way to go about it, even though it kind of feels right in the moment,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Uh, but something that has been a real encouragement to me is kind of realizing that whatever's going on, that like I can know that God has already claimed the victory over this, over my situation, other situations with my parents, and my mom also has a lot of chronic illnesses as well. It can be really discouraging. But just the fact that God already has the victory, even though it doesn't feel like it at the moment. Um, that has been a huge encouragement to me, because sometimes when it's really bad for me, like I'll be kind of just hanging out in bed one day because I just can't handle it. It's just too much. Or trying to encourage my mom, knowing that even though I feel terrible, even though I know I can't do anything to regain energy other than resting or doing what my doctor tells me to do, that God is working, and he already has that victory there, and that gives a peace, because it's something that's beyond me and what I can do, and that's been a huge encouragement, and I hope that it's been an encouragement to my mom and other people that I've shared with about that. So yeah.
Wow. What do you think changed from that kind of escapist mentality of I'm just trying to wait for a better tomorrow and I don't want to face it, to being able to accept it and find peace and hope and knowing that God was in control and that he had already won the victory? How did that change happen?
Well, I think I'm gonna be honest. There are days when I still do the escapist thing, and sometimes you just want to take a break from everything, and that's okay, just in moderation, of course. But I think there have been some times where I have been doing a lot better, and my journey has been in an upward trajectory, even though I still kind of have little hiccups here and there, and I still deal with this. It's something that's every day, even if there's a really good day. I still have this on a really good day, but kind of moments of kind of gifts. I think of them as a gift from God, just not necessarily getting back to some sort of normal, oh, I should have energy. I'm in my 20s. I should be, living and having fun and all that. And of course I should, but it's okay if it looks a little different. But having some times where God has given me energy, God has been healing me, even if it doesn't look exactly like I'd like, or even if it's a bit short-lived and then I can get some setbacks. Having some kind of moments to really enjoy what's around me, and the people around me, those kind of times, it does help when when those are a bit more frequent, I think. But that doesn't necessarily mean that if those weren't there, then I or somebody else couldn't have that mentality. Sorry. But yeah, I think it's more about a change in my mindset that did come in times where I was feeling better, where I kind of regretted the time that was lost, and accepting that it wasn't my fault. It wasn't like it's not something to be ashamed about for kind of retreating, because it's a lot to deal with, and sometimes it's a little bit more than we feel like we can handle at a given time. So not feeling ashamed about it, but accepting it and really wanting to maybe move beyond that, and thinking about the future, like future me, am I going to look back and regret this time? And so it's thinking like what's really healthy for me right now, and I think getting to that point and recognizing that God is here with us and in all the struggles, even if it feels like he's super far away, or if we're super far away, or whatever in between. Yeah, that kind of shift instead of just kind of feeling stuck under a blanket.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good. Yeah, just learning how to make the most out of what the situation is, and learning how to have a different perspective, I guess, going into it, and not just being overwhelmed by all of the things, that the circumstances and the feelings and the symptoms, but remembering that there's a bigger picture and there's more to your life than just the illness, that there are those good moments that you have, and those times where you're able to still feel joy and still have this life that you have, and like you don't have to stop living just because it's hard or because you don't feel good, but like your life might look a little bit different, and you might not be able to do everything that a lot of people your age are doing, but that doesn't mean that your life is any less than theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can still, there's still a way to step into that fullness of life, and that, um, just recognizing that God is with you, and that he's still working in your life, and he's shaping you, and he's using this experience, in order to help you to grow as a person. And so I don't know, it's just really cool to see the way that your mind has shifted over time, and just how you've learned to kind of accept and live into that reality. And you did mention a little bit about how you felt like a way that God has brought some healing in your life. Can you talk a little bit about what that was like?
Oh, well, I think it's kind of hard to describe because it's been a lot of trying different things, and sometimes it would be like this one thing really worked, and it would really help with giving me some energy, but like yeah, like we just had our finals week, and I was really struggling because I was exhausted from the whole semester, and I had a bunch of things that I still had to like make up from, not just my finals, and that really was stressing me out. But kind of, I was okay. So I was reading, I think it was in a devotional that week or sometime before then, um, where it was saying like God wants us to give our work to him so that he can work alongside of us, like not saying you do this, I'm just gonna be here like here you go, but letting him enter into that work. and I remember like even just with our finals week, it's like, okay, God, I have no idea how this is going to happen, how this is going to work, and how this is going to finish. How am I going to get all this stuff done? But I know if you're like working with me, then it'll be okay, and we can get through this. And there were just times during, well, especially like as a specific example, when I I wasn't feeling okay, but then there was this time of focus, or a time where I was like I would be typing away, like writing a final or something like that, and
Yeah.
and it was not like an ease, but because it wasn't easy, of course, but it kind of like it wasn't just me that was fueling all of this, and then I'd work and work and work, and at the end of it, it would be done. Be like, wow, thank you, God. I have no idea how like that burst of energy or that
Yeah.
focus came,
Yeah.
because it was really like the opposite just a few hours ago. Um, so really, really thanking God for that, and kind of recognizing that whatever like whatever was going on, that it wasn't just me. Um, and so over the years, being really thankful for the little gifts, that the
Yeah.
little or big gifts that kind of show up, where God shows up. I think that's been a, a big a big thing for healing, because healing takes lots of different forms,
Yeah.
not just physical or emotional or whatever, uh, but sometimes it's like in the little things, like, wow, I had a really great phone call with a friend, or I really enjoyed doing this one project for school, or had some great family time. Like we made some fun food together and ate that, and little things like that, where you get to participate and be with people. And I think that's been a huge thing of healing, is more about presence. Um, yeah, and I definitely, of course, I'm still working at all of
Yeah.
this stuff, because
Yeah.
not perfect here at all.
That's okay.
Yeah, but like being with God, not just talking to him, or just going about life without recognizing his presence that's always there, and really working at being present with what I was saying, with my surroundings, with the people around me, and especially now, like the people that aren't around me, but I would love
Yeah.
to be around if we weren't
Yeah.
so far apart. So yeah, and I mean that's been a huge thing for me and my personality and things like that. But like a healing of recognizing like presence, um, and all the different facets that come along with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And just learning how to be present with God and with the people that are in your life, and in that situation, that circumstance, that you've accepted it, and then you're able to be present and really experience the fullness of that moment, of that time, rather than just waiting for something to just be better. Like sometimes maybe healing isn't just like waiting for this, like you can't have this kind of idea that, okay, well, we just have to wait till everything is perfect, to really start living, because like this is the life that we have, and not everything is perfect. Like we're not perfect people, but we can still like step into and live fully in the best the way that we can, without just like holding on to some future ideal, that, oh well, when this changes, when this circumstance gets better, when I'm physically healed, when this happens or that happens, then I'll start living. Because then there's always, if you put those conditions on it, then you'll never really step into it. You'll never really be present, and you'll be missing out on so much of your life, so yeah. What is one thing that you would like for people who are currently dealing with this whole social distancing situation and the pandemic? Like, what is one thing that you think would be important for them to know in this time and hold on to?
I think that what has been brought to my mind is that this time, even though it comes with its challenges, and for each one of us that looks different, but recognizing that this is also a special time because there are so many opportunities that are available that wouldn't be if we weren't in this space, if we didn't have this time set apart. And I mean, I'm trying to like see, okay, what opportunities are around me now. Like with my health, I have an opportunity to start like more of a diligent exercise routine to build up my endurance and stamina, because that's been something that's been really hard with other schedules and school and moving here and there. That kind of disrupts any sort of routine that you may have started, or a step back because you got sick or something like that. That has been really, really hard. And so so like for me, I'm one of the things that I'm really hoping to take on and use the time for that we have right now is to start doing things like that, like exercising regularly and little things that maybe I wouldn't necessarily want to do, or even though I should, or things that I do want to do, or try new things, and I don't know, different things like that, because there are lots of opportunities around us that this time could be used for in a way that wouldn't be there if we didn't have that. Didn't have this time. So,
yeah. I feel like like the message that you shared before a little bit about kind of like your experience in the past when you had just been kind of like waiting for everything and just like not living fully and not accepting it, to like being able to be present and being able to live into that reality. I think that also can be like a really good message for people now, because they might be in that place where they're just trying to kind of like pretend like they don't want to accept the reality that they're having to live in these constraints, and they're just trying to fight against it or just like wait until things are better. But really, like, there are a lot of opportunities out there, and there are a lot of things that they can do, and they just have to be aware and open to that. They have to be willing to adjust and adapt and accept and live the best that they can in the current situation, and kind of see, okay, well, yes, there are these things that I don't have now, but like, what are some things that I can be thankful for, that I can enjoy, that are life-giving to me, that are meaningful? Like, what kind of, can I spend more time with my family, or can I take up like learning something that I'm interested in, or and there's all these ways of like doing things online now that maybe there's something that they could be interested in. But yeah, I think that whole section can be really applicable to this time. Yeah.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it's so funny how a lot of times our mentality can be like, here's this ideal type that we need to
Mm.
fit into, and if it kind of goes outside, if like for some reason, whatever the situation is, like it doesn't quite fit into that, it's like, oh, we just need to find a way to fit back into that ideal. And sometimes it's not that easy, and sometimes it's not that cut and dry. uh, but that doesn't make it any I don't know,
Yeah.
worse or anything like that. Yeah, I I remember I I was sitting on my bed one time, and I was asking God to like give me an image. It's like, what's something that you would like to show me? Um, and I mean, I don't do this very often, but there was something going on at our church that kind of prompted me to do this. And after a while, I saw this image of a girl kind of wrapped up on a hospital, like curled up on a hospital bed, and there was this light that was shining down on her, and she was kind of like on her side and kind of curled up, not really looking out. And there was this hospital bed, and it was almost like a spotlight on this area, and you could only see that for a little bit, but then the image started to expand, and there was this light that was focused on the girl in the hospital bed. But then you could kind of see that even though the surrounding area was dark, that it was this grand kind of like one of those grand ballrooms and palaces, but it was just really dark because the light wasn't shining all around. It was just shining there. Um, and that was such a powerful image to me. It's like, wow, yes, we can kind of be focused, and sometimes we don't see that we're in this like giant beautiful ballroom, but like we kind of just see ourselves on that hospital bed. And even though the hospital bed is kind of comfortable, because it's like one of those where you can kind of go and like the back goes up and down, uh, but there's so much more to it than that. And I don't know, there's lots of different ways that you could go down like interpreting that image,
Yeah.
uh, but that just came to my mind. I was like, I want to share that. So that kind of pairs with what we've been talking about, and I don't know, that was really impactful for me. I know, so yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. That's amazing. Like just being able to have that visual and that reminder of, hey, there's more to the story than just what we might be looking at our current situation.
Yeah,
Like it's so much bigger and there's so much more out there
yeah,
that is
yeah,
open to us if we will look for it, if we will seek out those opportunities, and if we will start to even like pray and ask God to help us to see a different
yeah,
perspective on things and not just be caught up in our situation, but really start to see, hey, there's a bigger picture and there's more going on. um
yeah, yeah. And even if it's because like we're always going to be limited in our scope or in our vision,
yeah.
but even just the knowledge that it's there, and
Yeah,
it's like even if you can't see it, it's there, and
that's good.
that's really special too, because sometimes hey, like we're not gonna be able to see uh whatever it is,
Yeah.
uh but it's still there, and and that can bring a sort of peace, even if you can't see it. So that's a huge encouragement to me. So
wow. Yeah. Well, thank you everybody for watching this video, and I'll have another video coming out in the next week with another friend, and so we'll just keep going and sharing some of these stories to bring you a bit of encouragement and hope in this time and situation. So I hope that you've enjoyed this, and I will see you next week. Thank you for watching.